So the Motu M28 Mk3 Hybrid, how does it hold up in 2020? Let's talk about it. For me, I think that it's a pretty solid machine. I've had mine since 2016, and since then, I think I can accurately describe a list of pros and cons through my personal experience and some of its letdowns in my past and some of the ways that it has exceeded and done above and beyond and really been an asset. What's on it? What's on the back of it? Well, let's start from left to right, looking at the back. Start with an IEC, it's pretty basic. Then you have two BNC connectors, input and output for word clock. You've got MIDI input and output, as well as a USB and 2 FireWire. And then you also have 16 channels bilingual ADAT at your disposal. Moving on from there, you have a 1/4 inch input for a foot switch that controls a keystroke, more on that in a minute, and then 8 analog inputs and analog outputs through 1/4 inch TRS connectors. There's also 2 SINs for effects on the onboard mixer, SMPTE time code through a 1/4 inch connector in and out, and then also your main left and right outputs that are balance XLR. This box offers some great expandability options when you can use the ADAT. You can use 16 channels. You can use 16 channels there and 8 analog channels at one time, or you can even use FireWire, adding another box to have 16 channels of analog and even more ADAT. There's all sorts of things that you can do. It can get crazy. This box could be used for some mobile applications too. I've used it with live bands, taken direct outs of boards, and others like talking scenarios where I've had to just use a couple of mic inputs, but had to send audio into many different places, and it can do that. Like, it's small, it's 1 rack unit, not super deep, it's lightweight, it is made of plastic, but if you're going to be putting it in a rack and taking care of it, hopefully you're not sending your stuff downstairs. Has a huge input and output when you consider that it's expandable through FireWire to 16 analog channels, input and output, 48 kilohertz. That's great for the price. It has real-time effects and a mixer on board that you can use on the computer. A compressor, EQ, some limiting gate, that kind of thing. And it's really great in a scenario when you're just trying to do something easy, or if you are trying to do some processing pre-recording. Over the years, it's been a great box. Analog has worked, all channels of ADAT have worked, word clocks work with other Motu equipment, but also non-Motu equipment through word clock. I've never done SMPTE. It's a fun box. But there's some things I don't necessarily like about it, so let's talk about the cons a little bit. One of the first things that I think about as a con to this when it comes to it is the encoders in the front. Not that one has ever died on me, but they are kind of annoying to work with after a while, especially if you're in a mobile setting and you don't have a laptop, you can hook up USB, that kind of thing. You've started now mixing through encoders. And it's like push button encoder and spin going through menus, that kind of thing. If you know the menus and you know the layers of the menus, it works and you can go through it, but it took time to learn that. But also at the same time, I'm not using that a lot. I'm using it on the computer, and so it's kind of slow and there's not a lot of information there, but you can do most functions through the encoder menu. Another con that I think of from time to time when I'm working with the box or moving it around is that it is on a small form factor, and when you have 16 inputs there, so I had 2 for a little while. You can see my other video about what happened about that. Now you have 32 1/4 inch inputs that are all coming out of one block, and unless you've got small fingers, you can't really get in there. So if you're going to be in a scenario where you're taking stuff in and out or unplugging and plugging stuff back in, especially 1/4 inch like this, it's something to consider that it's a tight workspace. On that note, the mic preamps on the front, I've had good luck with those, and they're relatively accessible. They're right there in the front. So the last real big con I have about this is the software for the computer. I've used it on Mac and I've also used it on the PC. There's 2 pieces to it. One piece allows you to change what is the master sample rate generator and select input and outputs for like the headphones and stuff like that, and some really basic things. But then you move into QMix, which is a more complicated thing. It's the full mixer. You can go in and you can work with inputs, outputs, the mixer itself. You can edit effects like compressors and reverb and things like that. However, it is obviously dated and hasn't really seen a facelift or an update in a while, nor has the firmware for the Motu, so that's something to consider, that you're getting into something that seems maybe a little bit abandoned by Motu in the sense of updating firmwares and drivers and stuff like that. I've never had an issue with Pro Tools, Reaper, Logic, or GarageBand necessarily with getting it to sync and for it to see all of the channels, but still, a little old overall. Thank you for watching this video. I can't make the decision whether or not this is the right product for you or not. Maybe my experiences have given you some insight of what is right for you. But until then, give me a like, tell me what you think in the comment section below, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Safe travels.